horrible, can make you crazy, take a knife and kill somebody. You know, it reminds me, I've been doing some research today, and there was some sheriff from Southern California, and he was talking about being against 19. And he's talking, talking about pot here, marijuana there. Then at the end, he says, and most crimes are committed by people on drugs. Not marijuana, drugs. So he was mixing it. He's giving misinformation. It was mostly alcohol and other drugs, not marijuana. I mean, these people, well, you don't go out and kill people when you're on marijuana. You may laugh a lot and want munchies.
You don't go out. You stay home.
But it's funny how he twists around. Everything was marijuana in the beginning, how bad, this, and then drugs down at the bottom. You commit a crime, you often is on drugs. Anyway, it was just really misinformation.
Let me just slow down briefly. Let me have the mic. Nobody's described what the proposition is. Can somebody do that? There is legal marijuana in California now. What's it called? Medical marijuana.
Yeah.
It has to be licensed. Mm-hmm. It has to be, local jurisdictions have that responsibility.
And they're abusing that responsibility.
Well, but it is legal in California and can do it. Now, the federal government still has a law that prohibits marijuana. So if the federal government still could come into a jurisdiction like California, even if it's legal, and have the authority to prosecute somebody. Mm-hmm. Now, most drug prosecutions are done under state or city jurisdiction, not federal. So the chances of having federal action in California, even if this is legalized, is so small, and it would probably not happen. It happened under the Bush administration,
yeah.
and Obama said we're not going to enforce it on the medical marijuana clinics.
Right.
So what we have now in California is medical marijuana that's legal. It still has to be licensed, and the jurisdictions can license it or not. Which you just said Santa Cruz did not. I think Monterey and maybe PG.
Actually, Santa Cruz did. Capitola did not.
Okay, Capitola. And I think PG or Monterey have just recently had it on their agenda, and I don't think they've approved it either. Just recently, in the past few months. Now, what this law will do is legalize it for personal use, and in a very small personal plot, something like 25 square feet or something.
5 by 5.
5 by 5, yeah. So it's not
1
like,
ounce
it's not like
of
a big
dried
production.
marijuana.
Yeah, 1 ounce.
Which is ridiculous.
So it legalizes it. It still requires licensing by local jurisdiction or state. Mm-hmm. And it's age 21 and above. So you can't sell it, and you can't give it to it, and you can't smoke it in public. You can smoke it in your own home.
No, not necessarily. If you have minors in your home, you can't.
Okay, you can't be around a minor. That's
can't
right.
be around a minor.
Okay, so legalizing it really is personal use, except not around minors. I mean, largely. And you can't drive with it. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, you can't drive with it, but also there's other problems. I mean, there's one side out there where...
Well, I'm not looking at problems. I'm just trying to describe what the proposal is.
Okay.
Yeah. And there may be other subtleties that I've kind of forgotten.
Well, I mean, it's not close to perfect. I mean, it also doesn't release all the people who, are already in there for marijuana charges. That's another problem with it. So, I mean, yeah, there's big problems with it.
It's not a well-written statute, but... Like we're told to go with the health care,
but it's a step.
And they'll fix it. Exactly. It's a step.
I mean, if we don't go there, I mean, we might as well just sit around and, nobody's going to legalize it.
Exactly.
Okay, so my question to all three of you is, how do you sell this to a suspicious public? I mean, what are the main arguments in favor of it? I'm trying to think. Your personal arguments, whatever.
Well, one would be is, right now, when someone sells pot or any drugs on the street, they don't ask you for your ID. Now they will. So it can control, in a sense, the minors from getting it. And by making give more access to it, it brings down the cost. I mean, I remember my kids talking about Carmel High. They said, you can get anything there except maybe beer. Well, beer is still legal, but you can get it anywhere, and there's not much of a profit margin on it. But some of these other drugs, the profit margin is just crazy, and they're willing to go down there and sell to anybody who has the cash.
And so you have the Mexican mafia, a dangerous group of people all over California polluting and doing everything else. You make it legal, you destroy the criminal incentive.
And you don't know what's in it, too, because I've had some friends have had something else put into marijuana and made them ill. And so there's no way to sue someone for it because it's not a legal product. And so you have no protection.
Yeah, and there's spores, they say, in the marijuana. You know, if it's if you don't, you know, go to a pharmacy, they say that you might get some kind of you know, like Lawrence was saying, but or mold spores. They were also saying, you know, it's not really a concern, I don't think, among people right now. But you know, if it is legalized, I think it would be. Slightly high, you know, government grade. It would be government grade now, and we all know that government grade is always better than street grade. So,
Well, I don't know. They might make it so with no power to it that who would buy it?
Okay, well then it's not government grade, you know.
Well, what you have is you have a legal ability to go after people who sold it to you when it's legalized, because only licensed people can sell it, which is actually, I hate to go on another side, is a little bit of a problem, because, you know, mom and pop shops may go out of business because it may be too difficult to license, maybe too much money, too much paperwork, and so you know, the guy who put this on the ballot was, you know, in Oakland, he has one of the biggest, I think, licensed medical marijuana clinics in the country.
And university.
And so, you know, that's kind of a, I hate to go on the other side, but that's kind of a problem. You know, libertarians are into pro-market, not pro-business, but pro-market. That means everything is level field. Everyone has the right to enter a market without a lot of paperwork. And this, well, in a sense, may create just a few big giants.
Well, not that working for you in the egg business.
In the egg business?
Yeah.
Mostly big people.
Yeah, right. And you know,
I like
eggs with salmonella.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily. I'm not gonna speak for Lawrence, but I mean, we don't necessarily believe that, you know, all government is. And I know, Lawrence, you know, you believe in local government too, Lawrence, right?
Well, they're very decentralized. In fact, that's the Green one. The Green Party's idea is decentralized things. Think small, grassroots.
Right. Okay. So I'm not even gonna. Okay, we're not gonna disagree on that. So if we localize everything, then I'm talking about local regulations, I guess. I don't mean government grade, because you can't really have government grade marijuana, but you can have, you know, regulations, just like on food. You know, you can't put, you know, mercury globs in the fish pasta, or, you know, you can't.
I'm sure some attorney would love that.
Right. You can't do that though.
But you probably can in Mississippi. Maybe you can't in California.
Right. Well,
I mean, when you
who
do
cares
things
about
state by
Mississippi?
state,
I mean,
you saw what happened with civil rights.
right.
Or county by
So
county.
frankly, I'm not willing.
Well,
I'm not willing to actually have anybody make laws
should be federal,
about
though.
something like this. I'm not interested in anybody's laws. Unfortunately, growing up with marijuana being illegal and everything else I've learned, and politicians like a Tom DeLay and lobbyists who give money, and a John Boner who hands out checks from the tobacco industry on the floor of Congress, law doesn't mean anything to me. Not at all. It has no moral quality left to it. I don't decide what I'm going to do or not do because of the law, federal or otherwise. Look, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a good day unless I break 2 of God's commandments and at least 1 federal law.
Oh, come on, you got to do more than that.
At least.
I want to go back to a point about selling it to the suspicious public. It seems to me there are several points, to my mind, that are worth emphasizing. One, the science around marijuana is that it has no addictive effects. It has no, it's not a gateway drug, even though it's accused to be a gateway drug. And the scientific studies of it is that it's not a health problem. It is not a health problem.
No.
There may be some temporary loony-goony attitudes, but
It's not very good for your memory.
but scientifically, alcohol and drugs have a body effect on your organs, which marijuana does not. That's one scientific thing.
right.
The other thing about the law is that they're proposing that there be a tax related to it, or a revenue stream for local governments that license it. So it seems to me this is a two-sided issue here. First of all, it generates revenue. Second, well, and it promotes small business, which is good. But also, it's to reduce the cost of incarceration. and the law enforcement expense, whether it's in the state or local jurisdictions. So it seems to me that two-sided financial issue are two pluses, and I don't understand why we're not selling it more on those terms. I mean, even if you don't like taxes and so on, but it is a revenue stream, and it's designed that way. I mean,
Well, it's not just a revenue stream, but it's also, you know, when you don't fight the war on drugs, that's about $19 billion a year at current dollars. So, you know, giving that up would certainly help out our coffers.
Well, and I mean, and we're fighting against, you know, you're asking why can't we convince the public? I mean, we're fighting against, everybody's been brainwashed. They think it's gonna, you know, like Lawrence said, make you crazy and, you know, stab your wife and, you know, I could keep listing crazy things, but you know, it doesn't do those things, you know. I have never smoked in a peace circle and had people all of a sudden freak out and start, you know, attacking each other, you know.
I've been in Texas.
Yeah.
And that sheriff that we mentioned before down in L.A. who's so unhappy with everything, he's a liar. One of the things he says, and I've heard it from other people, is, well, it's mostly young kids. I've been to a lot of dispensaries, and it's mostly old folks like me. It's not kids.
So what do you think, what is the position of the pharmaceuticals on this issue? Or do you know if they have a position?
I don't know. I know David Henderson in our group has studied a lot in the medical field, and he says they don't have much position on it. If it does come legal, they may take it over and make a lot of money. So, you know, why would they be really that concerned?
It's a cheap alternative to their expensive, more
Depends what
hard
company. Depends what company.
absorb drugs.
Right.
Well, there's DuPont, you know, there's all those companies that, you know, make oil that are against it. And Marinol, you know, they're trying to sell Marinol to people, but, you know, they don't tell people that it doesn't even have the cannabinoids in it. So you're just getting high from taking, you're not even getting really high, you're getting lightly high.
And you're asked to pay $900 a month for it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. That's a lot of weed you could have otherwise.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to drugs, I mean, you would have to get a prescription, and even though medical marijuana could help on a host of things to help you, a doctor would be tied to which diseases he could do it to. So there is some these controls on it. I mean, there's a two-edged sword. We want the freedom for people to have drugs, but then when you start taxing and regulating it, then it could come to a point where it'd be very difficult to get.
Yeah, because it could be overregulated and overtaxed.
It could be overregulated, overtaxed, you know, and, you know, I mean,
but that didn't happen with cigarettes or alcohol, though. I mean, really? I mean, other than, yeah.
Cigarettes are pretty expensive now, but you know, it's funny how people just keep buying them.
Okay, right. But I mean, you were talking. I guess I'm thinking of like $900 for, you know, an ounce or something. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I was thinking more in the sense of what you can use it for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's horrible.
Yeah.
They might as well just die.
But actually, with insurance, you only have to pay $90 a month, which I guess is why we all have to have insurance and be part of that criminal system.
But we shouldn't have, you know, insurance corporations. That's another conversation.
Yeah.
I think, but.
Do you think this will be an expensive proposition? Will there be lots of money on both sides, one side?
Just one side.
What's
Just their side, I think.
I think there's only two people who I know that have put big money into this. One is the man we mentioned before, Oaksterdam, and the other is the guy from Men's Warehouse, George Zimmer, who's a supporter of legalization.
Oh.
So if you're going to buy a suit, buy the Men's Warehouse.
There you go. Well, the last poll I saw.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, I guarantee it. The last poll I saw just recently was 47% for it.
That's what I saw.
So you know, and 47, and I think the other was 41, 42. Maybe there's some don't know. I don't know. Before it was kind of. It was winning a long time ago when it first started out, and then it lost some steam. But right now, it's winning in the polls.
my kind of understanding of where politicians who are running for office, they tend to avoid taking positions on propositions because they don't want their message mixed up with another message, and they're not involved in those campaigns. Whatever the proposition is, they avoid them. But the politicians seem to be coming out of the woodwork, either supporting this or not supporting it. Feinstein is against it. Brown, Governor Brown is against it.
And Barbara Boxer's against it. Did you hear what happened to Barbara
I
Boxer
didn't hear
today?
Boxer's position.